Imagine a scene: dark, rainy, cobbled streets, flickering torchlight, and a crowd eager to root out so-called witches from their towns. Hollywood has painted a vivid picture of the witch hunt era, with helpless women being dragged to stakes, set ablaze by zealous medieval crowds. But what if I told you that most of these assumptions, everything from the medieval part to the vast numbers supposedly burned, are all myths? First up, let's dismantle the idea that witch hunts were rampant in medieval Europe. Contrary to popular belief, the real witch trials only began much later. In fact, before the 14th century, European society was largely indifferent to witchcraft. The church even deemed it too trivial to be a threat. It wasn't until the Renaissance that the intensity escalated. That's right, the so-called witch hunt era began not in the Dark Ages, but in a time of enlightenment and new ideas. And here's another surprise. While the witch hunts did cost lives, the figure is a far cry from the millions that legends suggest. Scholars estimate that 40,000 to 50,000 people, still tragic, but nowhere near the 9 million deaths often cited, were killed during this period. Historian Malcolm Gaskell points out that these estimates are based on thorough records from the trials, not inflated numbers in pamphlets written to demonize religious enemies. Now, let's address the idea that witch hunts only targeted women. This image of persecuted women is powerful, and it's true they were the majority, but men weren't immune. In fact, in regions like Iceland and Norway, men made up the majority of those accused of witchcraft. Why? Some saw male witches as more dangerous, possibly even capable of summoning demons. A historian named Geoffrey Russell estimated that men made up around a quarter of the accused in Europe. In Iceland, that number was closer to 92%. The idea that only women suffered at the stake is yet another exaggeration, fueled by later cultural biases rather than historical evidence. Finally, let's tackle the notorious swimming test, where supposed witches were thrown into rivers to see if they'd float. If they did, they were considered guilty. If they sank, they were deemed innocent, albeit often posthumously. But here's the thing: while water trials did happen, they were far from the norm, and often condemned by legal authorities. Moreover, if someone did float, they were usually hauled out before they could drown. The real story is that many of these drownings came not from official tests, but from mobs taking matters into their own hands. And no, burning wasn't the primary execution method, despite the popular image of blazing stakes. Most accused witches were hanged, not burned. In England, burning was actually reserved for heretics, not witches. But many were so fearful of the witches' revenge that they burned the bodies after execution. This fear gave rise to the burning myth, which lives on in our imaginations today. So next time you hear a tale of a medieval witch hunt or imagine 9 million innocents burned, remember that history is full of twists, not all of them true. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let me know what you think. See you in the next one.